I want to ask you about Paramount because Paramount Pictures, yes, the Hollywood movie studio that you're familiar with, is teaming with both Titan Sports, the parent company of the WWF, and Domino's Pizza to put out a customizable 12-page SummerSlam direct mail piece, which is also going to promote some upcoming August pay-per-view programming. This all happens in the month of July. The campaign, what comes in the mail, says "So hot it's scary," and they're of course promoting SummerSlam and Domino's and a couple of Paramount movies, Adam's Family Values and Wayne's World 2. The write-up in multi-channel news would say that this is going to cost Titan 5 cents per piece, and they even have a quote from Stephanie McMahon saying the demographics for the titles in the event are similar. We're hoping to get that crossover audience from the event side. Adam's Family, Undertaker, Underfaker, I could get it. Leslie Nielsen, Wayne's World 2, I'm with it. Who are the movers and shakers making a deal like this come together with Paramount? People in the marketing department, or would that be something?
I have absolutely no idea. I didn't even remember that. And it's, look, you have your folks at the pay-per-view from Viewer's Choice still, even at that time, that they are always looking for something. And we are always looking for something to be able to go out and partner with. We can be a part of something larger that the mainstream audience is going to look at and go, oh, hey, yeah, this is cool. Oh, when they have WWF too. So dude, it's a team, man. It's just a great team that pulls all this shit together and makes it all work.
Let's talk about what's happening on the other channel. I mean, we've talked about this Brian Lee opportunity, the fun creative storyline with The Undertaker, Domino's, Leslie Nielsen, Paramount. It feels like we're pulling out a lot of big guns here. I just want to add context to this. July is when on the other channel, we're seeing Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair finally happen on pay-per-view, but it's for WCW. I know that this is pre-Nitro and it's pre-NWO, so it's pre-Monday Night Wars. But do you think that Vince was keeping up with what Hulkster was doing on the other channel? I mean, it feels foreign almost to see Hulk Hogan in a WCW ring at that point. What was Vince's thinking at the time, if you had to guess about all that?
I mean, look, we were definitely aware of Hulk being in WCW because at the time, we didn't know if he was going to come back for us or go to them. He obviously went to them. And we were definitely aware of it and felt that if there was anybody that could help, turn the tide for WCW, that it was Hulk. So we were aware of it. His initial foray into WCW wasn't sure as hell wasn't what they expected, because it's just kind of like, okay, Hulk's here, but it wasn't that huge boom that they were looking for. He was just another guy put in just other guys. And so that quickly was producing the same result that he was getting with us, where we were like, there's got to be something, you got to do something new. He's got to go get a rest, whatever it is, reinvent the wheel. And, that was just the reality of it. And Hulk didn't do anything for their business at first. Probably did from a merchandise standpoint, because they didn't have merchandise that sold for anybody else. But the Hulkamania shit, that sold. And that was something that was unique to Hulk. And in that regard, he probably made a difference. But as far as the gates and everything else, creatively, what he was doing, it was, I think, pretty lackluster at best.
I know you said that was what was happening in WCW, but maybe you mean at the end of his WWE run, because Bash at the Beach 94 is an all-time WCW record for pay-per-views and gate and et cetera, et cetera. Like, it was a real high watermark. And it does feel like, yes, for them. Yeah. I'm not saying it ever compared to a WrestleMania. I want to be clear about that. I'm just saying it was successful, and it makes me wonder are we thinking, hey, without the, because I don't know, I'm not there, but it does feel like maybe perhaps once upon a time, Hulk Hogan may have wondered, was his name, and maybe other people wondered, was Hulk Hogan's name bigger than the WWF? And
I'm
this
sure Hulk
almost,
thought that.
well, that's what I was getting to, is it feels a little bit like Brady and Belichick, right? To use a different sports reference, or maybe even Kobe and Shaq. Like when they separate, people are looking at both and wondering, hey, who's going to enjoy the most success apart? We've seen how much success they enjoyed together.
Yeah.
How much will they enjoy apart? And if we know anything from the outside looking in about Vince, is that he is fiercely competitive. And the idea that he might have one of his, not one of, the biggest star working now for a competitor, and he's competing against his bigger star, I could really feel like that would get Vince's motivation up, if that makes sense. Am I way off base there?
No, absolutely. It was, look, it was very personal. I think it was personal to both guys. And for Vince, I think Vince felt very betrayed. I think, Hogan felt very betrayed. I think they both blamed the other. And yet they both were very heavily reliant on each other. They needed each other. And neither one wanted to admit that. So you've got that dynamic, that pride dynamic coming in. But, yeah, it's we're definitely looking and seeing what they're doing now, because they do have Hulk, and Hulk was, 1-1 with WWF for so many years. So when you see Hulk, you think you're looking at WWF.
It is interesting to take a look at like SummerSlam and what was happening on the other channel. There's going to be 235,000 buys for SummerSlam, the show we're talking about here today. The month prior, when WCW was doing Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, that show came in at 225,000 buys. So this is, although it's pre Monday Night War era, this is about as competitive as we would ever see WCW. Like, to go worldwide buys, I think was 300 grand for SummerSlam. Domestic was 235. To be close is a really big deal for WCW, because they had been,
Huge.
yes.
Huge deal for WCW. But at the same time, I think WCW was looking for a lot more. And I think people expected a lot more. There were things that were said during that time prior to that. Well, Hulk, now that we have Hulk, we can go run stadiums and we can do 90,000 people in the Silverdome type of thing. And, Hulk did a lot better than what they had there. But it quickly also was like, okay, I've seen it. Now move on next. Because I don't think the Dungeon of Doom shit did very fucking well.
No, nobody liked the Dungeon of Doom. I think everybody, and they went back to the well so many times on Hogan Flair. It did feel like, they put Flair in after the July pay-per-view. They did a retirement match with Flair at Halloween Havoc. Like, we were trying to put as much Hogan Flair together as we could, and then when the wheels came off there, the Dungeon of Doom was not all that fun.